Just picking up on the Thomas Tuchel comments from before Jürgen Klopp there, and that really has dominated the story in the build-up to this game, the Romelu Lukaku situation. And he's spot on, isn't he, Rafa? It can be mistranslated. It was in a different language. It was in Italian. But there's kind of no really getting away from, I'm not happy with the situation at Chelsea. I would have stayed at Inter Milan had they given me a better deal. And I want to go back there one day in my prime, which is how much more of his prime has he got?
Yeah, I mean, I think Thomas Tuchel was very measured in his approach there. He did point out, I think, that it's not helpful, especially at this moment where Chelsea are not winning. I mean, the timing is unfortunate because the interview was already done a few weeks ago and it came out right in the moment where Chelsea are perceived in a bit of a difficult spot. But at the same time, you look at the context of the quotes, they're really not that bad. It's a player saying, I'm not quite happy with the way things are going. I have to work hard. I have to sort this out with the manager. There's also, I think, a suggestion that since this interview was done, they've actually had this meeting and have had already talked things through. So this is kind of looking at the past and is no longer really relevant. But of course, it's the kind of noise, it's the kind of distraction that doesn't help at this moment in time.
When the Chelsea fans were queuing up, and a lot of them will be watching from all around the world, to get Lukaku number 9 on the back of their shirts in August, it wasn't really a few months down the line what they had in mind, was it? You know, this sort of noise, spending £100 million on a player. They probably expected him, Emil, to have double figures at least by now.
100%. I think they will be looking at a player that would have been top of the goal scoring, would have been pulling up trees, would have been everything for them. It's noise. I think Tuchel spoke about it there. It's noise that they could rather do without. They don't need that. You know, he's a fantastic player. Go and make your feet do the talking for you. Why do you have to go and speak in the media? Well, again, there's another side of it where we want players to be authentic. We want players to tell the truth. We want players to be telling us everything about what they're going through, what's in their head. And he's done that, and now people are going to question whether he's actually dedicated to Chelsea. I would rather him just do his talking on the pitch, to be honest with you, because he's a fantastic player, and as you see at times, he's unplayable. And when you get Romelu Lukaku on fire, tell me which defender's going to stop him.
How did they go about doing that, Gabby, getting him back on fire?
I think if you look at the last 2 games, when you're coming against Aston Villa, he was unplayable. Aston Villa couldn't cope with him. He got his goal, won a penalty for his team as well. And against Brighton, he scored a great header as well. So I think he's back to his best. And like Rafa says, when the interview was done, you know, it was like 2-3 weeks ago. And I think it was after the Manchester United game against his old club, only getting 8 minutes, maybe a bit angry, maybe the wrong time to speak to a reporter. So I think there's no worries for me. I think he'll be back in the team and back to his best football.
Yeah, I was watching this game on a little screen while I was at Brentford, Manchester City, and obviously it worked out perfectly, the match week for City with Liverpool slipping up against Leicester. But that Brighton draw was damaging, wasn't it? The fact it was so late. They've dropped 13 points, Chelsea, from a possible 30. And
that will be damaging for them. You know, they'll be looking at that and saying, how can we plug them gaps? These are points that we should have on the board. How do we? And you know, at the end of the games, you usually go over them the next day. So they'll be sitting they would have been sat there looking at how could we stop this? Where do you stop it? You stop it from source. You stop the crosses. You got to be more aggressive in here. You can't be letting them have the header there. They'll be going through all of that, and that would be the disappointing thing, that they've conceded so many goals.
Rafa, it's been a damaging month, hasn't it? When you look at the top 4 on the 1st of December, where Chelsea were, and it wasn't a big lead, but obviously, you know, top of the pack psychologically, the impact that has, which is only, you know, a month ago, and you fast forward to the current situation and suddenly they find themselves that far behind Manchester City, who again played before them, and Chelsea go to the Etihad. I know they won their last season in probably different circumstances because it was all wrapped up, but they go to the Etihad shortly.
It's not really down to Chelsea, though. That's what happens when the other side win 10 in a row.
Yeah.
Every little draw is a disaster, and I think it's almost a little bit unfair to say that, you know, Chelsea have done things wrong, because their performances, their results, I think by and large have been good enough to be in contention, but you're dealing with a side in City that are perfect, literally, at the moment. So everything is magnified. A last-minute draw feels like a defeat. Interesting for Chelsea will be, I think that's why Tuchel maybe is a little bit more upset than he lets on, is if they can avoid any negative dynamic in the dressing room, because we know that Chelsea is not easy easy dressing room historically. We know that wins keep things ticking over, keep people happy, especially those who don't play. But when you have a bit of a difficult spell, that's when I think Tuchel's man management will really be quite challenging.
Yeah.
And he's in a difficult spot, I think, because for the first time since he's there's a sense of maybe that positive momentum is not quite as strong as it was, because it's been all non-stop success really since he came in a year ago.
He had that tiny blip, didn't he, at the end of last season, which obviously they still managed to get into the Champions League, but then
and ultimately they won the Champions League, so nobody remembers, and it didn't really matter. But now I think is that moment where you just think, things could go either way, so it's really important.
We've not seen him rattled like that this week as well. After that Brighton game, it's the sort of first time we've seen that different side to him, which I don't know if we saw that at PSG, I'm not sure.
Yeah, a little bit. I think he does wear his heart on the sleeves. When he is annoyed with the media, with players, he does show it. I thought he was quite measured, as I said. He was very careful, I think, in his appraisal. I don't think Lukaku has done enough to be on the wrong side of it and to be ostracised or severely punished. I don't think that was that sort of misdemeanor in his eyes. But you can see with all the big coaches, when things don't go quite their way, then there's a bit of nervousness, the wrong word, but a bit of tension maybe.
Yeah, with them both chasing then, Gabby, who needs to win more, this one, out of Liverpool and Chelsea, with Manchester City already extending that lead?
It's 50-50, isn't it? They both need to win the game. A draw for both of them is perfect result for Manchester City, but a nightmare. That's why I think it's going to be such an entertaining game, because they're going to be throwing everything at the game to win it. So I can't decide.
They'll have to go all out. Both will have to go and win it. And especially now you're looking at Salah and Mane probably leaving as well, going AFCON. So they're going to be missing them. They want to get as many points on the table before they start to go, and that's one of the dynamics that you have with the likes of Liverpool now as well, where you're losing your two best players, and the ones that are coming in, can they really plug that gap?
It's a long time with Origi and Minamino, isn't it? And the proof will be in the pudding. I keep saying on all of our shows, if you're watching in Egypt, and I know a lot of people do, and you're a Liverpool fan, you're a bit torn, aren't you, in terms of, because they're tipped to go quite far in the tournament.
Yeah, national team and your club team. But again, it's a fantastic tournament that they have to go and play for their national team. Everyone wants to play for their national team.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's a pride and joy.
That's the difference, though, isn't it? Mahrez will be gone for Manchester City, but they've got Foden, Grealish, Sterling, Gabriel Jesus, Palmer. De Bruyne can play on the wing if needs be. So they've got so many more options than Liverpool. So
well,
that's where I
they
think
talk about Origi as a club hero, don't they? This is his time. This is the proof in the pudding. If he's going to get that statue outside
Again, you've got to step up to the plate.
Yeah.
When you get given that chance, you've got to give the manager a bit of a headache.
Yeah.
Because if you stop scoring goals and really be carrying the team in the sense of being that focal point up front, when they come back, do they actually just step back in?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the losing team, out the race, yes or no?
The way things are going with City, you'd be tempted to say yes. I don't think they're quite out of the race yet. I think we also have to take into account the way that the game goes. Liverpool are away from home. They might have a few people out. If it's an edgy game and they come away with a draw, I don't think they'll feel that this is it. Let's stop playing the season. We're still only in the 2nd of January by that point. But a defeat would be really damaging, though, I think, because it would really show that it's probably not going to be their year. And that's a tough pill to swallow when it's so early still in the season. Yeah,
it will be really interesting as well to see the team sheet on Sunday, because Jürgen Klopp has said today that he's got 3 absentees, a mixture of COVID and injuries, so could be big players. The fact that he said you'll see on Sunday. Yeah. We're going to get Gabby's predictions later, so go on. How do you think this one's going to go at the Bridge?
It's a difficult one to call. I'm always going to swing towards the Reds, to be honest with you. Again, they'll be chomping at the bit because of obviously the Leicester defeat, where they felt that they had enough chances, created enough chances, good chances to score goals. So they'll be wanting to put that right. And when I was there, we always said that you don't lose 2 games in a row.
Rafa?
I think it'll be a draw.
Offence there, is it?
I think that's just an accurate prediction.
Yeah. No, you could be right. And we'll get, of course, Rafa, Gabby's predictions a little bit later on. The game at 2:00.